Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. It's set to be a busy couple of days for West Ham United. We announced the signing of Crysencio Summerville yesterday. We got beat 3-1 by Crystal Palace last night. However, we did beat them 3-0 in a training game earlier on. That makes it 4-3 West Ham on aggregate. We're having that one. And in the next couple of days, we will announce the signings, or we're set to, if all goes to plan, the signings of Rodriguez as well as Füllkrug. Both of those players are undergoing the first part of their medical today. Literally, as we're speaking, they're having their medical. They will have the second part of their medical tomorrow. All being well, they will sign the contract for West Ham United. However, deals are agreed between West Ham and Dortmund, West Ham and Füllkrug, and West Ham and Rodriguez. So there shouldn't be too many issues here. And come Tuesday, either Monday night or into Tuesday, we will announce 2 more signings. So a busy couple of days for West Ham. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Get your thoughts into the live chat. It could be about Summerville, Füllkrug. It could be about Rodriguez, the game against Crystal Palace. Anything you want to talk about West Ham related, get it into the live chat and let's have a little bit of a chat. Atta says Sufal, Zuma, Souček, Ward-Prowse can't be anywhere near the first 11. They will be good squad players, but they're not made for Lopetegui's system. The defense needs to be beefed up. Dylan said Füllkrug will become the 3rd most expensive player in the Premier League above the age of 30. Is this the sort of business we should be doing? There is a little bit of a question mark over the fee we will be paying for Dortmund. It was reported by Plettenberg, and he was the one that reported first that we'd agreed a deal with Dortmund, so he was correct in that regards. He was claiming that it was 22.5 million plus 4 million of potential add-ons. Express employees said it's not quite as high as it's been reported, so I'm sure we'll get clarification over the next couple of days as to what the actual fee is we're paying for Dortmund. However, someone sent me something funny earlier. Someone sent it to me as a screenshot, so I can't credit the person that originally said it. So apologies. But they said that under David Moyes, we only signed 1 player that was over the age of 30. And since David Moyes has left, we're ready to sign 2. For all the criticism Moyes got in regards to signing proven, experienced players, we're actually going to sign older ones to some extent. I'm not too bothered, truth be told. But this video is about what you guys think, so please get them in the get them into the live chat and let's see what you think. Percy's asking about what we reckon about Duran and Oz. Saying, are we still going for it? I don't think we will. I think Duran's done. I don't think we're going to sign Duran and Füllkrug. We might do. I just can't see it, and I'll tell you why. Because the reason we were signing Duran is because he doesn't want to play second fiddle to Ollie Watkins, the most, apart from Haaland, the most informed striker in the Premier League last season. Duran was annoyed and not accepting not being ahead of him in the pecking order. I just can't see us signing Füllkrug and then Duran going, do you know what, I'm still going to join West Ham and I'll just sit on the bench behind him and compete with Mikel Antonio for that sort of backup striker role. I just can't see it whatsoever. So I don't think we will be getting Duran and Füllkrug. We'll wait and see. I could be wrong. But the problems Duran's causing Aston Villa is due to lack of game time. I think we might basically, I already had concerns over Duran's attitude. If you just to keep it simple, his attitude, I would have massive concerns if he was to come in and compete with Füllkrug to be the main man at West Ham United next season. I think initially there was a risk with Duran. I think you're almost guaranteeing that risk to come true at some point if you have him as well as Füllkrug. Carl thinks we're going to scattergun again. Adam says he thinks we really need another centre-back. I'm not confident on the back line at the minute. Coral says we need Wan-Bissaka, 2 centre-backs, and maybe Duran in January for cut price, although that means he stays at Aston Villa, which is unlikely. Fear says surely we'll play a back 4 when everyone is back. We're playing this weird 3-5 at the back, which isn't working. I think it'll be a back 4 as well, personally. And the reason being, it's further down the pitch, really. If you were to play a back 3, and let's just say we played like a sort of a 3-4-3 formation, how are you fitting in Summerville, Paqueta, Bowen, Kudus, Füllkrug? There's too many players, really. You've only got 3 attackers. Yes, you could put Paqueta in midfield. I just remain unconvinced by that personally. I'd be surprised if we see Paqueta as a number 8 next season under Lopetegui. Some games we might do, and there might be some games I want to see it, but long term, I'm not too sure. Dave thinks we're massively overpaying for Füllkrug. Liam thinks it will be the only striker signing, which he doesn't mind having Antonio's second fiddle. Rodriguez and Wan-Bissaka next, and hopefully a starting right side centre back and maybe a number 8. Ray says, I wonder if they'll go big on a centre forward next season if we get European football. Of course, Antonio and Ings will, at the moment, not be here this time next season either, with both contracts expiring. Jay saying any detail about yesterday's game behind closed doors? Not really, other than we won 3-0. Bowen scored, Cornet scored, and Danny Ings scored. Lopetegui confirmed that Paqueta and Jared Bowen both got 40 minutes under the belt in that game. The game was only an hour long, but Bowen and Paqueta both played 40 minutes. So Daddy doesn't think we're signing 2 more centre-backs. No, I think we might get one, but I think we're going to have one needs to go first. Todd says Füllkrug is a beast, works hard, strong, good finisher, good in the air, and his link-up play is perfect for our attacking midfielders. I'm not against it. I'm not against Füllkrug coming in. Chris says Lopetegui pulling his hair out watching that game. The Moyes boys, as in the players, are unteachable. So Daddy reckons we're going to have an Alvarez and Rodriguez double pivot. Yassine has a feeling this could be a more expensive version of the Pellegrini window. To be fair, I think this is actually a cheap version of it. Did we not spend, was it 100 million or was it 200 million? What was it? My subconscious just said it was 200 million. That's why I'm saying it's cheaper. I don't know, maybe it was only 100. Only 100. But that was quite some time ago, to be fair. Charles said we always make Jordan Ayew world class. Yeah, he's turns up against West Ham, doesn't he? DiCanio is predicting that we've paid 40 million for the new Roger Johnson. Aaron says Füllkrug is a penalty box demon and perfect link-up player for our attack. He'd rather have Füllkrug over Duran for our speedy attack. Robert says Wan-Bissaka is reportedly 18 million. Is that a good figure? I think so. I think it's maybe at the more expensive. If Wan-Bissaka was on a 4-year contract, I think nobody would flinch at paying 18 million for him. I think it's just because you know he's only got a year and there's a situation there that you're trying to take advantage of. But listen, it works both ways, really, because when a player's only got a year to go on his contract, it makes him cheaper to acquire from the club. The club are obviously willing to sell him for less than they'd like. However, you then stumble across a bit of a balancer when it comes to the player who increases his demand sometimes because, well, if I just wait one more year, I can really cash in on this move with a hefty signing on fee. So you might save a little bit of money on one hand, but another, you've got to pay up. So I think 18 million is a fair fee. It just depends, I guess, on who's paying Wan-Bissaka, is it us or Man United, and how much is it going to cost for Wan-Bissaka? Because all these things hit the PSR. Although we look at it as fans as the transfer fee, what we do ignore naturally is the agent's fee, the signing on fee. All these things go on the PSR as well. That's why I'm trying not to discuss PSR too much. This basically 2 months ago, I didn't understand PSR enough. I had a basic grasp of it, but not enough. So when the season finished, I decided between the Premier League season finishing and the Euros starting, I thought I'm going to learn a bit more about PSR. What is it? How does it work? Do you know what? I just want a bit more detail in regards to the PSR. So I did my homework and I annoyed somebody who's really good with PSR, Keely Maguire, Price of Football podcast host, does work for BBC, Sky Sports. You'll all know who Keely Maguire is, I think. If you're bothered enough to watch a West Ham, an opinionated Scotsman on a webcam discussing West Ham, I think you probably know who Keely Maguire is. So I pestered him over a couple of months, basically sending him scenarios saying, so if this happens, this is what happens. And he was confirming if I was right or not. So by the end of it, I feel like I learned a little bit. And so when the summer's been going on, I've been looking at things from a PSR's perspective. And a lot of people's reasoning for it frustrates me because I feel like I'm right and they're wrong. But I'm trying to stay out of it. It's a bit like the homegrown rule when people say, we must have 8 homegrown players. I think that's not true. That's wrong. But anyway, not going off a tangent. Back to it and back to the live chat. Charles says, with Paqueta, Alvarez and Guido Rodriguez playing, we will have people in midfield showing for the ball and offering passing angles. Steve is really worried about Summerville. Our defence was terrible again yesterday, and others weren't much better. Hope that performance of Kilman was a one-off. Brian said, I get, like Antonio showed he will fight for his position last night. He never stopped pressing. He was pleased. John says, experience to keep the sleeping giant as awoken at last. Should have happened last year. Why do we play second fiddle to these so-called top six? We should be aiming high as always. Mark, in regards to Wan-Bissaka's injury, it's not a serious one. The club have already clarified the injury, I think, as Scott's saying. He's not hurt. He got hit in the face and he went off. It's not significant and it won't impact our pursuit of Wan-Bissaka. Nothing too serious. Alex thinks Füllkrug is going to be a cult hero, tailor-made for the Premier League. Caveman says West Ham fans need to stop thinking every sign has to be under the age of 22. We need players for now and not just future. I agree. It's about balance. I'm okay with the business we're doing. Damien doesn't see Füllkrug getting into the side. That's a big call. I think he gets straight into it. But then, and Damien's following it up with a shout out to Michael Antonio. Infinitely asking the Summerville counts as a homegrown player because of his time at Leeds. He does not, unfortunately. He wasn't quite there long enough. So Summerville will count as a non-homegrown player, which is just a bit unfortunate. Had he been at Leeds a little bit longer, he would have counted as a homegrown player. He didn't miss it by much, I don't think. I think it was a case of months rather than a full year. But no, Summerville is not a homegrown player, I don't believe. But then saying that, Scott says he is. So I don't know. I'm quite confident he's not. Looking forward to seeing a left winger on the left wing, says Dan, and an actual striker up front. It's gone on for far too long. Mark says Füllkrug has a decent scoring record everywhere he's been. A bit of a late bloomer, though, Füllkrug. Barry says we don't need to spend 20 or 30 million with no sell-on value. We're paying for their services only. Jeff's asking about Areola. He went over to America. He just didn't feature. But when the club put up the lineup yesterday, they did say that Areola wasn't going to be playing, nor was Bowen or Paqueta. However, the latter two obviously played in the previous match yesterday, but Areola did not. Liam says Füllkrug led the line for Dortmund. Took him to a Champions League final. Unlucky not to score. Jay thinks he is homegrown. I'm quite confident he's not, though, Jay. I'm quite confident he's not. If you go on the EFL squad list for last season, he would also be mentioned on there that he's homegrown. However, he wasn't, and he doesn't count as under 21s because he wasn't on the under 21s list. He was on the senior squad list. So if he is homegrown, Leeds United made a serious administrative error last season by not registering him as homegrown. So I'm saying no, because Leeds United didn't register him as homegrown last season. We'll wait and see. But that's Leeds. According to Leeds United, Summerville is not homegrown. So I'm blaming them. If I'm wrong, it's Leeds United's fault. Simple as that. Wayne reckons Paqueta will be number 8 with Kudus and Summerville in the starting lineup. The only thing regarding to Kudus, that's obviously a lot of people, including myself, would rather maybe see him a little bit more central this season at times. Earlier on in the pre-season, Kudus spoke about what Lopetegui wants from a winger and how he was looking forward to playing for Lopetegui because the way Lopetegui wants him to play is how he likes to play. But Kudus himself specifically said winger, which makes me think that there's been a conversation there in regards to Kudus's role this season. It certainly wasn't number 10, and it was as that side of it. Liam's Team Gio. Liam doesn't think he's homegrown. He wasn't far off, to be fair. When he joined Leeds United, he was quite young, so he wasn't far off. But I don't think he is. Infinitely says we need a finisher, with the exception behind. We need a different type of striker from a Moyes type with pace behind them. Gonzo shall be a little bit happier. Ross can't see Souček getting many minutes next season. He's going to miss the potato salad eating legend. Stephen's gutted that we're signing Füllkrug over Duran. Liam says just under 30 goals in 2 seasons in Bundesliga, as well as goals in the Euros and Champions League. Does that sound better? But Damien's saying that internationals are the worst place to judge stats. Scoring a brace against Slovakia means nothing. I agree with the latter. I think he's a good striker. I think he's a decent striker. I think personally that he had a really good Champions League campaign, a really good Euro Championship campaign, and his Bundesliga campaign, while he still scored, it was okay. It wasn't fantastic. Saying that, I didn't watch every Dortmund domestic game last season. I don't know, 7 games maybe. I watched Dortmund playing in the Bundesliga. A couple of good games from Füllkrug, but there were some games he just wasn't very good. He just struggled to really influence the game at all. I'm more intrigued by his build-up play, his passing. He gets a lot of assists as well, Füllkrug. Obviously, as a striker, naturally you'll focus on his goal scoring, but he does rack up the assists. He's say creative. He's good classic number 9. Ralph says Skamaka held the ball up well too and sprayed it around. He just didn't get the service. I'm okay with the hook coming in. Ryan said, could we end up with Rodriguez, defensive midfield, and Alvarez at centre back? When they played together previously, Rodriguez and Alvarez, when they played together previously, that is what happened. Rodriguez was the defensive midfielder and Edson Alvarez was the centre-back previous to his move to Ajax. And I think it was Ajax that moved Alvarez into centre midfield. I could be wrong on that part, but certainly the initial part, which was when they played together in Mexico, that's how they featured Alvarez at the back and Rodriguez in midfield. So there is something there. I'm not too sure. I just wonder if maybe I'm 16 minutes in. I'll say it now. I haven't said this on a video yet because I can't be bothered with the grief. And it's just a prediction, right? Prediction, opinion, not the same thing, right? Prediction is what you think will happen. Opinion, or desire, should I say, is what you want to happen. Prediction, I wouldn't be surprised if Alvarez is maybe the one to leave this summer. There was obviously a bit of talk pre-injury, and that injury sustained is what killed that transfer talk altogether. However, if we look at the Leverkusen model, which is also what Steidten's come from, if he was to implement such a thing at West Ham, usually Leverkusen's transfer model is to sell one star player every summer. In the summer, you sell only one, not 2, 3, 4. Just you sell one star player, and you choose which one. Or you might choose which ones you don't sell, and then whoever's left over can be sold. And that transfer is used to fund that summer's transfer activity. And when you look at the money we're spending, there is going to be a little bit of pressure on us to sell a player, possibly. Maybe not this summer because of the counting period. It could be before the end of June next summer. And if we are going to follow that, which is one player leaves, obviously next summer, I think it's fair to assume Mohamed Kudus could be that player. I think that's a fair assumption. So we do need to sell this summer, and we can't move on the less desirable players. I think Agerd is obviously the player we'd ideally sell. But if nobody's coming in and bidding for him, there's not much we can do there. We've either got to let him go really cheap or move him on. So I just wouldn't be surprised if Alvarez moves on, if there is genuine interest in him from Man United and they do want him and they do make a move. I don't want him to be, just for clarity, I don't want him to be sold unless it's a ridiculous offer. I think in the pre-season friendlies, we've missed Edson Alvarez. And while I'm looking forward to seeing Rodriguez, I've seen him play. I just didn't know I've seen him play. I'm looking forward to discovering him, but I don't know enough about him to think, oh, yeah, that's the guy that's going to come in and knock Alvarez out of the team. I don't know. I can't tell you. That's why I'm excited for the Rodriguez signing, because it's just that unknown quantity of a player that we're bringing in. So anyway, that's just it. I just wouldn't be surprised if there was talk of Alvarez leaving. Like I said, I don't want him to go. I think we're going to have to sell players, good players, over the next few years. And it's not just West Ham. Every club's going to have to do this. Every club's going to have to raise money. And it's easier to sell one good player than 3 players that perhaps are less desirable. Anyway, let's get back to the live chat. Jeff is just hoping that Füllkrug isn't a German Danny Ings. Lewis says, if Lopetegui studied West Ham for a while, like it was claimed, I can't see we'll see much of Ward-Prowse and Souček playing in the system next year. Anyway, Luke is asking if anyone see the Carlos Soler links. Don't know much about the player, but I like how many deals we could go through. I have. I'm just unconvinced we'll sign another central midfielder. I think we might get that. Might get a centre back, obviously a right back. Might get a centre back, and I think that'll be it. I don't think we'll do too much other business. Apparently, Füllkrug's Wikipedia page says he wears number 14 shirt. I wouldn't bother paying any attention to that, bearing in mind who our current number 14 is. Wayne says we've got a net spend of 67 million this summer. It seems good business being done. I've stopped. I used to do the net spend thing. And then, like I said, I tried to learn a little bit. And I thought, well, what's the point really? Because, you know, the agent's fees, you've got to, whether you like it or not, it counts. You have to include it. We don't know what they are. We will know what they are when the club's accounts come out. You can see how much we've spent on agents. But until that happens, we don't know. So it's very difficult to know really how much we've spent, how much we've taken in. We can guess. We know Guilherme, and I'm quite confident Guilherme was 19.5 million plus a possible 5 million of add-ons. But what we don't know is the sign-on fee, the agent fee, etc. All those other financial parts of the deal we don't know. But 67 million feels about right, given that Ben Rama left and Thilo Kever left. And I know Fornals did, but that was in January. But those two players left on permanent transfers, and we received a bit of money for both, over 20 million we received for the pair of them. So that's helped anyway. We are bringing in players, but, you know, Kilman was expensive at 40 million, but all the others are around about 20 million. It's not the biggest outlays in the world. Mark said, unfortunately, I have a feeling that we might regret not signing Duran. I think he will become very valuable in future if he keeps his attitude. Agree. I like him. So Daddy says if we could sign Soler if we sell Ward-Prowse or Souček. It's a big if, though. I think the if's the problem there. Theo said it'll be a disappointment if we don't achieve European football this team while we have it. With this team while we have it, many of our players could go next year that we will have to replace. Ray saying there's plenty of players that have come from Germany couldn't cut it in the Premier League. Granted, but there's some players that have came to the Premier League from Germany and done just fine. Please, Pascal Gross has got his move back to Germany. So I'm looking forward to seeing him actually for Dortmund. Charles was saying Milinkovic for 12 million. Obviously, he joined Nottingham Forest, saying better than what we have. Ethan Downs went to, of course. How did I forget about Flynn Downs going? There you go. Thank you, Ethan. 35 million. Bit closer to 40 million, actually. So we're taking in 40 million on transfer fees in this transfer window. So it's good. We've recouped a lot of our costs as well. In regards to Souček, yeah, I'd sell Souček. I'd keep Ward-Prowse, but I'd sell Souček. I can understand why a lot of people want to sell both. I would just only move on one in this window. And I think the case to move on Souček is stronger than Ward-Prowse. Personally, others will have a different opinion. I understand why. You'd have to justify it. I get it, why you'd prefer to sell Ward-Prowse. With Souček, I just think now's the time to, while there's a decent bit of market value there, we'll maybe get 15, 20 million for him. He's a good goal-scoring centre midfielder for the right team. I'm just not sure the way we're going to play is going to suit him. And I think his value will start to depreciate should that happen. So I think now would be the right time to cash in on him, actually. It just makes a little bit of sense. And this is where PSR thing comes in, because obviously we sell him for what we paid. Overall, we've not made a profit on Thomas Souček, but in terms of PSR accounts, it will be a hefty profit because we've signed him, what was it, January 2020? I feel like it was January 2020 we signed him and Jared Bowen. Well, Souček was in the summer, wasn't he? He was a permanent signing, but it's 4 years really. So that's the way PSR works, and it's a bit strange the way it works. However, that would actually be a substantial profit on this year's accounts for Thomas Souček, even though we're selling for the same fee as we buy him. Billy, thank you very much. Billy's kindly popped £5 super chat in, which helps out the channel. He says, if these rumoured players come in, it'll be one of our best starting 11s that we've had in years. Really looking forward to the start of the new season. Stephen's asking, do we think we did the right thing going to America for pre-season? Feels like we lost a lot of time on air miles rather than playing the extra games or training. I don't think it's been ideal. Certainly, you look at the weather conditions last week with Wolves, and then the fact that the clubs, obviously the game last night went ahead as normal and there was no issues. But we had a game. West Ham played Crystal Palace behind closed doors because they were worried the game was going to get called off. And that's not good preparation. I'd imagine ideally Lopetegui would have liked Bowen and Paqueta to have featured in the same team as the likes of Kudus and Antonio, but we almost had to split the team in two. It meant more minutes for more players, I'm sure, but it's not ideal preparation, really. So it's been a little bit of a iffy one. Going to America, I'm okay with. I think just going to a state which historically has issues at this time of the year with their storms is a little bit of a strange decision. Clubs do it for commercial reasons. I prefer local friendlies, but listen, I've seen some fans comment on the review saying the game last night was somebody drove. I could be wrong. Actually, I'm not going to check. I won't find it as quick. One of our subscribers last night commented that he travelled 28 hours round trip to go to the game last night. It was the first time he's ever seen West Ham play. And that's something that I think is wonderful, to go over there, and people that have supported West Ham for one reason or another are able to finally go see their team play live. And it might be the only opportunity they get to see them play live. So I'm okay with it to some extent. And while these friendlies are happening, it means that I'm hoping there's less reasons for the Premier League to start pissing around and start playing fixtures abroad, because that will come up. It's come up before and it'll come up again. Shall we have one game abroad? Shall we have each team play once in a different country? No, leave it alone. And while we keep going to America and playing for pre-season friendlies, it's sort of, I think, gives a bit of evidence as to why not to do that personally. But I think it'd be the opposite direction if that ever happened. Hopefully not. Mark says, why would anyone want to sell Ward-Prowse when he consistently contributes goals, good with possession, and loves closing down? He thinks it's a little bit baffling. Jeff says, if Alvarez was fit, we would have sold Souček or Ward-Prowse. I'm not sure, because Alvarez is out for too long, we don't believe, so we could still sell one of them and be fine. I'm not sure that's going to impact that part of it. Bo's confirming we did sell. Thank you very much. I thought it was January 2020. I struggle with that time. Do you know, like when people talk about seasons, I don't know why. I just struggle with the timeline of it all. But anyway. Nick says, as an American, not sure why Florida was chosen this time of year, but blessed to have them come down. Atta thinks Lopetegui is deliberately playing Souček and Ward-Prowse to expose them. Thing is, I don't even think it's that. I think it's just that there's nobody else to play. We've got Irving, obviously, and the youngsters, but Alvarez injured. Rodriguez hasn't signed yet. Paqueta was unavailable because of Copa America. There wasn't actually many senior central midfielders available other than Ward-Prowse and Thomas Souček. And funnily enough, Ward-Prowse spent most of pre-season in the number 10 role. But that double pivot, I hated it last season. It was only friendly last night, but I hated it last night as well. I did not like it. Right then, I'll continue the conversation in the live chat. Before I do, can I just ask you to please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up. It generally helps the video out. And also subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat. Both things are free, takes a few seconds, and it's very kind of you to do that as well. Stephen thinks we're going to get Duran in January. Simmons says, other than Summerville, I've been considerably more excited and positive for players we have been linked with and failed to sign than who we have actually acquired. Fair. I think you're excited for Summerville, but I think what I was going to say is when you sign players, this is how I feel. So I'm just applying my own logic here. When you sign players that you know, like Max Kilman, the excitement can somewhat be capped because you know what you're getting. It's a bit like Ward-Prowse. You knew what you were getting with Ward-Prowse. I would strongly suggest last season was James Ward-Prowse. There was nothing surprising about his game. If anything, the only thing I thought he did better than I expected was his pressing from the front. I didn't see that enough at Southampton when I seen him. It was a bit deeper at Southampton, admittedly. But when you bring in players that you know, I think unless it's easier to get excited for attacking players or defensive players as well. I'm thinking back to last summer. I was quite excited for Mavropanos because I didn't really know what to expect from him. Now, truth be told, 12 months later, I'm still not quite sure what to expect from him. But I think that's maybe why you might have got excited. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Andrew, thank you very much. It was very kind. Thank you for the £10 super chat and the sticker. I can't see what it is because of the software, but thank you. It's very, very kind of you. I can buy a couple of packets of timeouts for that one. Infant May says, will Celtic be open for a trade for O'Reilly? Do you know something? The problem is Celtic wouldn't be able to afford their wages, but there is something there. O'Reilly's a way to... Celtic are kicking off now against Kilmarnock, 4:30. Scottish Premiership is back this weekend, and Celtic are playing now. So once I close down this stream, if you've got nothing to do and you've got Sky, put on Sky Sports and watch Matt O'Reilly. We won't sign him. I would have just loved to have signed him. And wonderful, wonderful player. I do think he's going to move this summer, but he's starting for Celtic this afternoon. Yank says, Michigan Hammer hoping for a better season when we get more players in and everybody settles into a new system. Some players I don't think are built for it, like Souček, and need to be moved on. So Daddy says, Barca was about to sign Rodriguez and clubs like Atletico Madrid were interested. Steal of a signing. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Rodriguez. People have got me excited. You know, the ones that have seen him play think he's a really good player and it's a really good signing for us. And that's got me a bit excited. Plus I spoke to Sloth, who's quite clued up when it comes to football. And we have similar opinions on players. And he was a big fan of the signing as well. So I'm all right with that one. And finally, Victor says, what we are buying but not selling. Why? And Zuma, why still playing? It's not easy to sell players. It's easy to sell players like Kudus and Bowen. The players you don't want to sell are easy to sell. The players that you do want to sell, not quite so easy. And, you know, Kone, Ings, well, Southampton did. He just didn't move. Ings doesn't want to leave. So it's difficult to sell someone like Danny Ings if he doesn't actually want to leave the club. For Kurt Zuma, the same again. We apparently were ready to move him on, but he doesn't want to leave. When he's on 125 grand a week, he's not going to be quick to get out that door, is he? So I just think, even though we don't sell players, it's not that we don't want to sell players, it's that nobody's willing to buy them. It's like Nathan Gerd. That guy's been up for sale without being up for sale. He's a decent centre-back, but nobody's come in and made I don't think anybody's made a bid because they all know what the asking price is of 35 million. There's been no bids for him that we're aware of. So it's hard, actually. I think sometimes when it comes to selling players, and I can fall into this trap sometimes, it's easy to go, move that guy on. But the reality is it's probably quite difficult and complicated. I mean, look at Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Man, you're happy to sell him, but he's been picky about where he's going. And then there's talk about who's giving him money to leave because he could cash in next summer. That's difficult to move on someone that's quite desirable, actually. Kent says Chelsea are looking at O'Reilly to replace... Oh, I hope not. I don't want to go into Chelsea. No, thank you. Anyway, right, I'm going to disappear before we do. Navida says Souček, Antonio, and Sufal can't pass the ball if their life depends on it. If it wasn't for West Ham, you wouldn't see them playing in the Premier League. I don't know. I think if they all left West Ham this summer, I think they'd all get Premier League moves. Lopetegui literally tried to sign Mikel Antonio when he was at Wolves. So I disagree with Antonio. Sufal, again, he could get a move somewhere in the Premier League, and so could Souček. That's the most Everton midfielder I've ever seen without playing for Everton, Thomas Souček. Right, I'm going to shut up and disappear. Please drop a like on the video. Subscribe to Hammer's Chat. We'll be back tomorrow. Gonz will be back later on over on the forum channel this evening. And I'll be back tomorrow to catch up with you then. Get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on Summerville, Füllkrug, and Rodriguez, as well as the game against Crystal Palace. And I'll catch up with you this evening in the comment section. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll catch you in a bit.